There is another new Underdog draft today. You have a Superflex draft dropping. Personally, I've gotten crushed in the Superflex drafts every single year. I've been able to prove that we're pretty damn good with the usual format. So to be honest with you, I don't necessarily know if I'm super excited to dive into the Puppy Butt Superflex. I know other people freaking love it. We may end up getting a draft going later in this live stream regardless. Just to show you, it's a $5 buy-in, $300,000 first place prize. Already been almost 10,000 entrants since it dropped earlier today. But yeah, we have a zillion different drafts to choose from. I think I'm going to be hopping in Best Ball Mania for our first draft today. Mainly because it's been filling way faster than I was thinking. So I'm afraid that it actually feels a little bit early. And I need to get my 150 entries in. There have already been 120,000 entries into the tournament. So let's go ahead. Let's get in here. $25 buy-in, $15 million prize pool. Don't worry about first place because you ain't winning it. Your boy is. Now let's see where we are at. Give me something good. Pick 3, baby. Let's freaking go. Like I said before, I'm fine you giving me a crap pick. Give me pick 9. Give me pick 10. Give me pick 11. If it is a $5 buy-in on Underdog. But if we're 25 and up, don't give me any of that mess. Just let me have some fun. Let me draft a good team for once in my life. And we're going to be in here at pick 3. Let me know if you're in with us. We got Cade in here at pick 4. Joey out here with the new profile pick. I love to see it. My guy, love to see it. Yes, now we get to see who Joey actually is. Michael in here at pick 2. We got Big Bro Joe out here at pick 9. Let's go. And Henry going through and saying Mason was 0% CMC this year. So I did not do a draft guide last year. I know a lot of people were mad at us for not doing it, but to be honest with you, we streamed for 250 days in a row. We worked our little butts off on flogfantasy.com, building out as many tools as we possibly could, which we're still working on every single day. But this year, I think we are going to do a draft guide for y'all. Primarily because every year I've done a draft guide, I personally have had better results, and it's kind of what I need to be focusing on is trying to get the best results I possibly can. We're going to take CeeDee Lamb here at pick 3. Not going to think too much about it. But anyway, so I spent about 4 hours today just going through and compiling a bunch of stuff to get ready for our draft guide. And looking at Christian McCaffrey over the past 3 years, to fade CMC looks like a death wish. I mean, this is a running back that in 2021 averaged 15.5 points per game. In 2022, he jumps up to 18.5 points per game. And in 2023, he is at 22.5 points per game. So typically we want to say, oh, running back going into year 7, running back going into year 8. This is someone that maybe we should expect to fall off from, and maybe there is a little bit of concern in us not wanting to draft him at pick 1. But then you look at the fact that it's not that Christian McCaffrey is slowing down or falling off going into year 8, whatever the hell it is at this point. He was drafted in 2017. Christian McCaffrey is getting better. So it is concerning to say the least. But outside of what we have seen with Tyreek Hill at pick 2, everything in this draft looks pretty standard, right? I mean, Bijan Brees, you're typically not seeing Garrett Wilson go before A.J. Brown. That is a little bit of a different pick, but outside of that, everything is pretty much in lockstep with ADP. And another conclusion I may come away with the early results that we have in putting this draft guide together, and we've already mentioned this in another live stream before. Of course, hook 'em horns. You know, I love my guy Bijan Robinson. It will be someone that I'm rooting for this season. I hope he absolutely crushes it. And y'all know last year, once Rodgers went down, I went, oh, okay, yeah, Brees Hall just dropped, 150 yards against the Bills. But you're going to have Zach Wilson for the rest of the year behind a bad offensive line. So I'd rather sell high on Brees and pivot to a different elite RB1. This is the season now that the Jets improved their offensive line. Brees Hall's a year further removed away from the torn ACL, and at the same time that you have a quarterback upgrade with Rodgers. Personally, I may be going Breece Hall over Bijan Robinson. I don't know. We'll see. But it is 100% something that I am considering. Now, let's go ahead. Let's move this around. We are about to be back up on the clock. We went CeeDee Lamb round 1. I know Cade's in this live stream, so I'm going to keep my lips sealed. We're going to see what Cade decides to do. And he goes Mike Evans. So we're going to take Deebo Samuel. There's a wide range of outcomes here with Deebo, as we mentioned previously. If you see Ayuk get dealt, Deebo Samuel easily jumps up to now he's going over Evans, Collins, Ayuk, Adams, Olave. He's probably going up there next to Taylor Barkley, right behind Harrison. But if Ayuk gets dealt, Deebo is skyrocketing up these rankings. If Deebo gets dealt, Deebo is falling in a big time way. So taking Deebo here at 22, if you are looking at the potential for his ADP to change from June 3rd to August 3rd, I think Deebo probably has a wider range of outcomes from an ADP standpoint. So I like taking a swing on him in a $25 buy-in. That's a $1.5 million first place prize. Now, of course, there's the outside chance that Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk neither get dealt, and they both play this year. And that is priced in right now with Deebo going late round 2. But we're going to get a Mr. Jalen Waddle here round 3. I mean, we talk about it over and over again. What I am personally trying to accomplish, and it's difficult for me to stay disciplined, it's difficult for me to get it done, is I want 5 receivers through the first 8 rounds. So what the historical data showed that typically you want 5 receivers through the first 7 rounds on Underdog over the past 3 years to be successful. Now that receivers are more expensive, I'm going to be giving myself a little bit of leeway. We're going to go 5 receivers through the first 8 rather than through the first 7. So the easiest way for me to get there personally, where I know I'm going to want to take the elite level tight end possibly in round 5. I know I'm going to want to maybe take a shot on a falling running back. I think in the live stream yesterday, we took Travis Etienne at the very end of round 4. The easiest way for us to get to 5 receivers through the first 8 rounds is potentially just 3 receivers out the gate. But Skate Dollar coming out says, Mace, draft is August 2nd. Keeper league. Top players are Puka, Mahomes, Diggs, Adams. Which 2 are keepers? When you say DV and then Adams, is there somebody that I'm not thinking of when you say DV? I'm assuming you just mean Devontae Adams there. I'm definitely Puka out of this list. I think personally I'd be going Puka and Adams. If you wanted to go with an elite quarterback, depending on how the rest of your leagues are going to value him, if it's only a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I'm okay with it. But of course, real quick, if for whatever reason you have no idea what we're doing, we are drafting on Underdog Fantasy. I mean, I draft here every single day. I've done it every single day for years. It's best ball, so there's no time commitment at all during the season. That's how I draft hundreds of teams every offseason. So I won $150,000 on Underdog 2 years ago. And yeah, we're going to be doing this every single night. So if you want to join a live stream with us, you can find that link in the description in the comment section. Code FLOCK will get hooked up with a 50% deposit bonus up to $250 on a new account. Plus, you'll be getting our 2024 fantasy football rankings and draft guide with code FLOCK. And on top of that, you are going to be getting set up with a special pickup. It's going to be something like Luka Doncic, more than less than half a total point. Dependent on the day that you sign up will depend on the player that you get. But Underdog is available in damn near every state. You can see everything there on the map. But after we go 3 receivers out the gate, we have a lot of flexibility going into pick 46, right? And looking at what the draft board's potentially going to be giving us here, where the best players, according to ADP, are Kelsey, Jacobs, McBride, Pacheco, Mahomes. I do like that we have set ourselves up with the ability to not have to go down and reach on someone like Keenan Allen or Terry McLaurin at this pick. So because we went Waddle over Achane in the last round, it's going to give us the optionality to go ahead and take Travis Kelce here at pick 46. And yes, I am freaking pumped. Pumped for this start. Maybe I manifested this. Is if you look at the title, I titled it a good fantasy football draft. Now, do I have confidence in myself? Have I been able to see me ruin hundreds of drafts over years and understand that it's a long shot for me to get a good fantasy football draft going? Yes, I understand that. So I put a little question mark at the end because who knows? Maybe it turns out to be horrendous. But yeah, so far through the first 4 rounds, this is an absolute dream. We have Kelsey, so the hope is we get Mahomes, and Mahomes does go at 49. So very frustrating. I would have, if I was team 1, there's no way in hell I'm going Mahomes with only 1 receiver. But it is what it is, right? We're not going to sit here and cry that Mahomes went. And I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to double down on the Chiefs offense. We will take Isaiah Pacheco. Mahomes would have been a much better pick for a Kelsey build, obviously. But sadly, there's no Back to the Future time machine that we can do to go and log into drinking and texting's phone to give us Mahomes at 51. So we're going to get the Chiefs pairing here at the turn regardless. And going back to what we were talking about previously, you can make an argument, Mason, Sam Laporta can outscore Jalen Waddle. And trust me, I think the same thing. That's why I was drafting a lot of Sam Laporta in round 3 previously. You can tell me Mason, Devon Achane is a higher upside play than Jalen Waddle. And sure, you can go ahead and you can make that argument. But the reason we are going 3 receivers out the gate is because I want to allow ourselves to take advantage of the value that we get at the end of round 4, the beginning of round 5, and not have to feel that we're needing to reach on a receiver. Because I'll say this, that team at 1, they are going to be forced, no matter what the value is over the next 4 rounds, to go wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. If they don't, they're just donating their $25 to the tournament, and thank you for paying the rake, but they will be in a spot if they get wide receivers to fall to them at a value, then beautiful, right? You have 2 elite RBs, you have an elite tight end, you have an elite quarterback, and maybe a wide receiver with a lot of upside in the final 3 weeks with Malik Neighbors. So if you get the wide receivers that you're really wanting at pick 72, 73, 96, that's great. And I've, in the past, for sure, gone through and tried to implement that strategy, right? If I really liked McBride, if I really liked Mahomes at the 4 or 5 turn, I let myself take the tight end and quarterback, even though we only had 1 receiver. But in years past, personally, and of course I'm an idiot, I could be wrong, I felt a lot better about the wide receivers that we were getting in the middle rounds than I do this season. Historically speaking, wide receivers have been great picks in rounds like 5, 6, 7. You can even expand that into round 8, and running backs in that range have been horrible selections. But it's a different year. It's a different draft board. And personally, I prefer like Kelsey and Pacheco types over Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen types. Okay. So let's go ahead. Let's move this over. We have a lot of flexibility of what we are going to be doing. I think in a vacuum, we possibly want to go receiver. Like I said, our typical rule here is we're wanting 5 receivers through the first 8 rounds. We have 3 receivers through the first 5, so we have 3 more rounds to get 2 more receivers. Chris Godwin off the board at 68. Now, Kamara is on the thumbnail, so I'm going to sit here and cry if we have to line up the stream. We'll see what happens. Kamara goes. Thank God. We get someone we're excited about. We get Jordan Addison here at pick 70. And we may have done it. It's June 3rd. We've been drafting for a month. But we may have just drafted a good fantasy football team. Wide receiver, we are currently sitting with Lamb, Debo, Waddle, Addison. We have who I'm hoping is an elite tight end with Kelsey. We have Pacheco with what appears to be the thinnest Chiefs backfield that we've seen since his time with the team. Y'all know I love, and I repeat, love Jordan Addison in this range. So I am super excited to get him here. And I think he fits our build. And now we only need one receiver through the next 2 rounds to stay disciplined and try to get it done. I would have liked Brian Thomas. You're going to see Evan Ingram go here quite often, so people can set up the Lawrence stack a little bit later. I have taken legitimately 0 DeAndre Hopkins. We did have people in the live chat previous. I mean, Hopkins had 1,000 yards last year. I mean, it doesn't seem like it. We're going to go Hopkins. I haven't taken any of them. I don't feel good about it. You have the addition of Ridley. You have the addition of Boyd. You have the addition of Pollard. But the projection, let's just go through hypothetically. How does this Hopkins pick pan out? How does it work for us? Hypothetically, the way that this DeAndre Hopkins pick works is the Tennessee Titans come out this next season and they go, okay, new coaching staff. We invested heavily into Levis's weapons. We are going to let the man air the ball out. And if that happens, maybe there's volume to go around. Maybe Ridley's dust. The contract doesn't necessarily indicate so. But we have 0 DeAndre Hopkins. People in the live chat told us that if you look at sports books, his props this season are extremely high in comparison to the other receivers going in this range. So possibly we do need to go ahead and mix them in just a bit. Don't feel great about it, but it is what it is. Cali Kid, welcome to being a member of the flock. Happy to see you, my friend. Happy to see you. And now let's move this over. And at this point, I personally want receivers to go and for us to see running backs on the way back around. Very interesting to see. I believe Montgomery was the highest ranked player according to ADP when we were on the clock there at 75. David Montgomery makes it all the way down to 83. Makes a lot of sense for that team there at pick 11, right? I mean, Montgomery getting him in as your RB2 at that kind of value does look pretty good. I do want to reiterate, if you were going back to what that team at 1 did through the first 5 rounds, you put yourself in a position with Malik Neighbors as your only wide receiver. I mean, I'm not trying to pick on this person, but I'm trying to use this as an example for other people not to do it in the live stream. On Underdog, you are not going to be able to get away with going with 2 running backs out the gate, getting an elite tight end, and going bully quarterback. An elite tight end works. Maybe going 2 running backs out the gate can work. The going bully quarterback can possibly work. But to do all 3 at the same time, where your 2 receivers are Malik Neighbors, Keon Coleman, you're sending up a prayer that Jamison Williams makes it back to you. It's going to be really tough. I think you kind of have to pick which lane you're going to go in. You have to either pick, I'm going to be the elite tight end guy, I'm going to be the RB guy, or I'm going to be the bully quarterback guy. Or maybe you can pick 2 of those combos. But to go ahead and try to get all 3 in, extremely tough. Now we have our 5 receivers through the first 8 rounds, so we're definitely not forced to go with a receiver here. I'm assuming we're going to get Dak to pair up with Lamb, which would be great, right? Let's go ahead. Let's take Dak. We get him stacked up with CeeDee Lamb. Pretty much best case scenario. Now, if we add a player that very rarely ever made it to a late round 8, make it to us, say, I don't know, Zamir White with an ADP of 84 made it to us at 94. If you look at the teams behind us, this team had no Dallas Cowboys potential stack. This team already had Mahomes and Kyler. So if you wanted to get really, really cute with it, you could go ahead and you could potentially pass on Dak Prescott, expecting to get him back around at pick 99. But 1, there's no reason to. We just didn't have anybody super interesting falling to us. And 2, looking at that team at 1, they don't know what's going on. They go ahead and they take Jaden Daniels at 96. So, yeah, I mean, imagine how heated we would have been if all of a sudden we would have seen them go with Dak as their 3rd quarterback when they had 2 receivers and we needed them on the way back around. So we don't have to roll those dice. Now we take Hopkins here. So if we're splitting hairs, if we're already in on the Titans offense, might as well go ahead and double down with Tony Pollard. We're going to take some James Conner here. We're going to take some Tony Pollard. I think they're about the same. I don't have a personal preference between the two guys as it stands right now for myself. But I mean, if we are going to make that tiebreaker, I think it's a big enough deal for us to just say, oh, we have Hopkins, might as well go Pollard with this build. So yeah, so far receiver, we have Lamb, Debo, Waddle, Addison, Hopkins. We have the elite tight end in Kelsey. Running back, we have Pacheco, Pollard. And quarterback, we have Dak. So honestly, I love this team. I think that we are going to have to, from now on, have some faith in ourselves. Potentially start throwing a positive adjective or two in the title. So when we go out there, maybe just title it A Fantasy Football Draft. What are we manifesting there, right? We're manifesting just another draft, yada, yada, yada. Who cares? This isn't anything special. If we go a good fantasy football draft, hell, maybe things happen. Maybe we don't get pick 9. We're actually able to make moves. Frank says, I don't think Tennessee's offense will be centered around Pollard the same way it was around Henry. My friend, I 100% agree with you. If I thought Tony Pollard was going to see the Derrick Henry level workload over the past 3 seasons, I would be taking Tony Pollard in round 3 or 4 of these drafts. For Pollard to be going at pick 99, about 1 to 2 rounds before Tajee Spears, the market currently is pricing Tony Pollard in as a committee running back. So, 2 things can be true. 1, Tony Pollard may not get the Derrick Henry level workload. And 2, Tony Pollard may return value here in round 9. I have no idea. But I mean, yeah, if you really were excited about Spears as well, considering the cost of these Tennessee guys to go Pollard in round like 9 and Spears possibly in round 11, you could get both. D Wingsman says, why is Goff being drafted behind Daniels, Kyler, and Love with all his options? And Gibbs is said to be used more in the slot. 2 words, my friend. Rushing upside. Even Jordan Love can go out there and he can drop 50 points on the ground rushing. So it just, like say we just project out Jaden Daniels this season to have 600 rushing yards, which kind of seems reasonable. 6 to 8 rushing touchdowns. We'll be conservative, right? We'll say Jaden Daniels has 600 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. That's equivalent to 96 fantasy points. That's equivalent to almost an additional 2,500 passing yards if you were just equating point for point, right, in fantasy. So I don't think anybody's drafting Kyler Daniels ahead of Goff expecting to see a similar passing profile this season. But I do think you're seeing it based off just the rushing upside of those other quarterbacks. Brock Purdy goes 115. That's the team that has Brandon Ayuk. Obviously, we were targeting Brock Purdy in this draft, which is a little bit frustrating to get sniped on Purdy there, but completely understandable for the team with Ayuk to go ahead and take him. So personally, we can sit here and we can say 2 things. This team at 1 already has Mahomes, Kyler, Daniels. There's no way in hell they go with another quarterback. But they shouldn't have gone Daniels, so who knows what they're doing. And the team right behind us, they only have 1 QB, and they have Tyreek Hill. So we could sit here, we could roll the dice to see if we could get 2 on the way back around to pair him up with Waddle. But I'm not going to roll those dice. We're just going to go ahead. We'll take 2 at 118. We'll move on. We'll get the correlation in with Waddle, especially based off this team at 1 that has Mahomes, Kyler, Daniels kind of soaking up a lot of the quarterback production in this draft currently. I think we potentially have to be a little bit worried about quarterbacks falling to us late in this draft. So, yeah, we're going to take Tua so the team behind us doesn't, because with the crazy guy at 1 just soaking up a lot of this quarterback value, I'm kind of afraid that we'd get boxed out of the quarterback position a little later on. Nick Chubb goes pick 119. Thank God. Now, if only someone can take Austin Eckler so we don't lose the draft that way. As y'all know, I will find ways to light money on fire. And so far, it looks like the way that we are lighting money on fire this year is taking Austin Eckler and Nick Chubb in round 11 of fantasy football drafts. So I will go ahead, take Eckler here, round 11. I'll reiterate what I feel like we have to say every single live stream at this point, and it's embarrassing to have to say this. Austin Eckler is a running back with an absurd amount of red flags. Let's be very clear when we say that. Not a good situation in Washington. Gets paid nothing to go there. Doesn't seem like a natural fit with the Russian quarterback based off the majority of his value in the past being derived off what he can do as a receiver. So everybody and their mom hates Austin Eckler this year for a very good reason. I want to be very clear. I understand that. Now, I also want to point out the fact that we take him in between Blake Corum and Ezekiel Elliott. So maybe I am not getting a big enough discount. Maybe he needs to be even going later. Maybe he needs to be going round 12 of these drafts. I don't know. But I will be taking Eckler over Zeke even on a Dallas build. Tyson says, opinions on Chubb. He's my highest exposure player as of now. Absolutely insanely good of a player and a clear-cut starter. ACL tear isn't what it used to be. I love Chubb this year. Two things. One, I also, my friend, look to be wasting a lot of money on Nick Chubb. Focusing on the injury, because we can all agree, Nick Chubb healthy in this situation. If Nick Chubb was fully healthy, keep in mind, he was a round 1, round 2 pick last year. He was fully healthy. Nick Chubb would be going inside the first 4 rounds of these drafts. Possibly higher, but I don't want to be too aggressive. So getting him here, pick 119, you could say, oh, ACL tear isn't what it used to be. The discount's gone too far. We're going to go ahead. We're going to scoop up Nick Chubb, especially because yada, yada. Well, let's move on past that. Because this Nick Chubb price point is 100% all about his injury. Everybody understands it. Very similar to the Austin Eckler situation. People are very scared for very good reason. Because you can't just say the ACL injury is different than what it used to be. Because Nick Chubb did not just have an ACL injury. Nick Chubb tore every single little thing that he has in his knee. Now, instead of going to medical school, I decided to become a bad fantasy football drafter, so I'm not going to be able to go into detail. But we all saw it. Primetime game, destroyed everything, had to have a second surgery, and it's a very serious injury for an older running back that a lot of people are very scared of for good reason. So don't just say that ACL injury is not what it's supposed to be, because if Nick Chubb just had a clean ACL break, I would feel so good about drafting Nick Chubb, because I've drafted Nick Chubb this year. I don't want to talk about it, but we have. But the reason why I don't feel great about it is because it wasn't a clean tear. The knee is destroyed. I think his ADP is going to move a lot from the time that we are June 3rd to the start of the season. One of two things are going to happen. One, we are potentially going to get positive news regarding the Nick Chubb injury and that it looks like he's ahead of schedule. If that happens, where it looks like Nick Chubb starts the year, and I'm not saying it's going to, but it's in the range of outcomes, it's a possibility. All of a sudden, Nick Chubb probably jumps up, 3-4 rounds? But also, the more likely outcome, at least what it looks like right now, maybe I'm just being a pessimist because we've drafted a lot of Chubb. The more likely outcome appears to be that we get closer to the season. People are reminded, yeah, this guy's not good to go. This guy's going to be missing time at the beginning of the year, and he's going to take a long time to ramp up. And he actually goes lower in these drafts. So, yeah. I, too, have been drafting Nick Chubb. I do not feel good about it. I do not want to act like it's smart. I would not advise other people to follow us into it. Yeah, the two guys that I've found myself not wanting to draft and feeling the worst about drafting, but for whatever reason, I still do it. I've been drafting a decent amount of Chubb, a decent amount of Eckler, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Dowdle. No idea if the guy's any good. I don't think Zeke's any good at this point. I don't think any of the running backs in Dallas are good. But Dowdle has a chance to crack the starting job, right? We go in on this Dallas offense anyway. We have Lamb. We have Dak. We need another running back. So I think it is a natural spot to go into. And now wide receiver, we have Lamb, Debo, Waddle, Addison, Hopkins. Quarterback, we have Dak stacked up with Lamb. We can potentially say, oh, yeah, and we also have some correlation with Dowdle. Not a big deal. A tight end, we have Kelsey and Frymuth, probably only going to be drafting 2 tight ends here. Running back, we have Pacheco, Pollard, Eckler, Dowdle. If you want to look at just the offensives we've bet on in general, where we've taken 2 players or more from the same team, we're in on Dallas with Lamb, Dak, and Dowdle. We're in on Miami with Waddle and Tua. We're in on Kansas City with Kelsey and Pacheco. We're in on Tennessee with Hopkins and Pollard. And I believe that is it, ladies and gentlemen. But let's move this over. And yes, I think we can stop talking about Team 1, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, Team 1 goes to a couple more rookie receivers, but once they take Daniels, they're a dead team regardless, so it doesn't really matter at this point. Yeah, I know a lot of people are concerned about Miami, Tua going to Cleveland week 17, yada, yada, yada. I get it. I think people are maybe just a little bit too close to the Tua narrative where it played out at the end of this last year, right? And we're all remembering what happened with Tua in the cold in KC. The Dolphins were on Hard Knocks, so we get to see it fall apart, blah, blah, blah. The Dolphins have started hot, fallen apart for 2 years now. So it's fresh in everybody's minds. I understand that the narrative is strong, but I don't necessarily know if it's something we need to be full-blown panicking about. Okay. Trill says, what do you think about Quentin Johnston versus Ladd? To be honest, if we were ranking the guys coming out of school as prospects, I would be more interested in Johnston than Ladd. I think Johnston had a much better profile. I know people are going to say, Mason, you idiot, because everybody knows how his rookie season played out. But keep in mind, he went round 1. We're going to go ahead. We will take Thielen because keep pounding. But obviously at this point, when Quentin Johnston puts up as bad of a season as he did, with really no excuses, he had great quarterback play. He had no competition once those guys got injured. If you look at the historical data, Quentin Johnston, more likely than not, I don't want to say almost a guarantee because nothing's a guarantee, but the data screams Johnston is a bust. The market's already priced it in. I'm not breaking any news to anybody. I don't know if it's worth focusing in on too much, because kind of everybody understands it already. Okay. Speed says Johnston will be out of the league in a few years. But yeah, it looks like he is on that path. But I do want to reiterate, like, it's very different for people to come out and say now Quentin Johnston is bad. Quentin Johnston is a bust. He is going to be out of the NFL. Because it's not a hot take. That's what 99.999% of people are all in agreement with. There's a reason Quentin Johnston is going right before Darnell Mooney, despite a weak depth chart with one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. So, It's like me going through and saying, oh, Michael Wilson's really bad. Michael Wilson may not be in the NFL in a few more years. The thing is, people would say like, okay, well, why are you talking about it? Nobody's hyping up Michael Wilson. If you were last year, which I was not, trust me, I wish I would have known. I didn't. I actually got lucky. I didn't really draft Quentin Johnston in underdog drafts last year. We also didn't draft Puka Kyron, so it didn't matter. But anyway, if you were coming out in this live stream last year when it was priced in that Johnston, I don't know, checked a lot of boxes as a prospect, went round one in the NFL draft to a pretty good situation, and you were saying, yeah, he's a bum, he's not going to be in the NFL in a few years, that would have been an interesting thing to talk about. But now it's already out. Okay. Now, this is a take. Jalen Wright will finish the season as the Dolphins running back. I'm not saying I agree with it, but if you're going to come out and call a shot, that's something that's not priced in. Jalen Wright here is going to pick 150. Okay. And it looks like, yes, we're going to get a second draft going after this. I don't know what draft we will get. I know some people want to see a Superflex. I've told y'all last year, I'll tell you again this season. We've had a ton of success in regular structured underdog drafts, such as Best Ball Mania, such as Puppies, such as the high stakes drafts on Underdog. I would say if you look at our large sample in that tournament contest, overall large sample, and I know people are going to hate me saying this, but we've been, even though I talk down on myself all the time, probably a top 5 drafter on Underdog over the past few years. But the places where I've gotten absolutely crushed and I don't feel good about our strategy and I don't really know what's going on, I've gotten crushed in weekly winners. I knew right away when that tournament dropped that I had no idea what was going on. We got in some because they're fun, and I thought at first, 2 years ago when Superflex dropped, I thought I knew what was going on. I was excited. And then I learned the hard way that no, you did not know what was going on in Superflex, Mason. And yeah, the lost in Superflex last year, lost in it the year prior. So we may end up going through firing up a Superflex draft after this, but I want to be very clear with everybody. I don't want to say completely guessing in those drafts, but we'll be just clicking buttons. Okay. Now, Damian Pierce off the board, 187. So I think this is a team where we have some optionality with what we want to be doing here from a construction perspective. Running back, we have Pacheco, Pollard, Eckler, Dowdle, Chuba. I wouldn't mind going with the 6th RB here. We have Lamb, Debo, Waddle, Addison, Hopkins, Thielen at receiver. We definitely need to be going at least with one more receiver. I don't know if we've drafted any Dobbins. Dobbins obviously going significantly later now than he was. We mentioned this previously whenever we made that, like the cheapest running back ones in fantasy video, and we went through and talked about all the uncertain backfields. And we looked at Dobbins, and this is when he was going a lot higher. We said the man has 50,000 guaranteed. He's never done anything. Don't draft him. But looking at the teams after us, they have 4 and 3 running backs. We're getting Dobbins 12 picks past ADP after he's already fallen a considerable amount, where this is someone that was going about 3 rounds prior to this early on. So we'll take a running back that has $50,000 guaranteed to his name that's never done anything. Here's our 6th RB. Now, at this point, we for sure obviously need to grab another receiver. I think we can do a couple different things. I think you can go Jalen Tolbert, go in on Dallas with that continued trend. We could go Tyler Boyd and continue to go in with Tennessee. Could go Odell at the very end as well. I think we took Odell in the first stream of the first time we took Odell was in the live stream last night, I think. Now, I think you can make an argument for a 2-6-8-2 build. I think you could also potentially make an argument for a build with 3 tight ends. We're 3 quarterbacks. It's just the last thing we can do is take a running back here. That's a given. So we're going to take Tyler Boyd because I know we need another receiver, right? I know we want another wide receiver. I don't know what else we want. I mean, this is a team that I guess we're hoping Ridley gets injured. Obviously, we're not hoping. You know what I mean? But we'll go Boyd here, 195. And then with our last pick, I just simply don't know what we're going to do. I think we can go receiver. I think we could go quarterback. We could go tight ends. I don't really know, but spam the chat. What draft do you want to see? Anything's on the table. We got a ton of people out here. I'm going to be drafting a ton of the sprints this offseason. That looks really fun in my mind. Best Ball Mania, of course, ton of fun. I may get, if y'all want a super flex, we'll get a super flex going. We got super flex, super, Best Ball Mania, super, Best Ball Mania, super, best ball, super. So it looks like most people want to see the super flex. This may be our only super flex we do on the live stream. If you are going to get in super flex drafts, I think you need to do so today or tomorrow. This happens every single time Underdog drops a super flex draft. I'm not going to say anything until we get about halfway through, but I will draft this team and I will tell you what you need to be doing when we're about halfway through. Coming from someone who's never won anything in Underdog Superflex drafts. And yes, we're pick 9. Now, am I going to sit here? Am I going to cry? Oh my gosh, pick 9 sucks. If this was a regular Best Ball Mania, yes, I would cry about pick 9. But to be honest, giving us pick 9 here in Superflex, I'm with Henry. It's fine. Completely different draft board. The quarterbacks at the top are going to be pushing guys down. Now, typically, we would love to get access to someone like Josh Allen. I would love to get access to someone like Lamar, Jalen Hurts. Probably not happening at pick 9. It is what it is. But we'll see what happens. Katy Perry on the clock at pick 1. TK says, new shirt, pick 9 is fine. Let me know in the live chat, did y'all get to see the YouTube short that we put out with, it was like compilation of us getting pick 9 in like a million different drafts? Thomas, the editor, put it together. And if you have not seen it, highly recommend it. That was some of his best work. Ken Perry says it's Ken Perry. No, my guy. I'm for sure looking that as Katy Perry. I don't know. But we'll have to double check on that one, my friend. We'll have to double check. Okay. People got it. All right. Awesome. Happy y'all saw it. Braden got seeing his account in it. That's awesome. Okay. Now we're just going to go ahead. Oh my gosh. I don't know what to do in the other draft. We're just going to take Odell for the double stack with Miami and really hope that Kelsey gets us there at tight end. Okay. To do CMC off the board at pick 5. Not going to fault anybody at all for taking CMC there. CeeDee Lamb off the board at pick 6. Bijan goes 7. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to take CJ Stroud at pick 9. Yeah, just in case you don't know what Superflex is, anybody watching this, I automatically assumed everybody knew. But Superflex, one of your wide receiver slots on Underdog changes to where you can actually play any position, including quarterback. So instead of the lineup being QB, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, and a flex, it is a QB, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, a flex, and a super flex. Now let's see what Hahoud does. Went Anthony Richardson in round 1. Tao says, I have a strong feeling that Richardson will outscore Stroud. Obviously, Richardson has the rushing upside. Okay, so we get boxed out. Here was my plan, to be honest with you. My plan was to just go quarterback out the gate and tell y'all that ADP was going to change dramatically. I'm sure most of you already know this. We will go Breece Hall here, though, because I do think that he's the last running back in this tier. But y'all saw us take Stroud over Jefferson and Chase, and maybe I think St. Brown had a higher ADP. But the big thing to understand in these drafts today is when you are looking at this ADP, while typically Underdog ADP is the sharpest ADP you're going to find, I'm very rarely in the top of my draft room or in the middle of my draft room scrolling down significantly to find who you want to draft. If you're doing that, typically in Underdog drafts, you're going to get crushed, I promise you. If you're scrolling down a lot consistently, because the market has a good idea of where guys should be going, yada, yada, yada. This may be the one instance where ignore ADP, quarterbacks are going to be significantly undervalued there for the next few days. Now, if you get in Underdog drafts in the Superflex tournament contest 2 days from now, 3 days from now, good freaking luck when the ADP updates and everybody realizes, yes, you should be taking quarterbacks early. But, yeah. So if you are going to get in these Superflex drafts, you need to do so ASAP. You need to scroll down, take a couple quarterbacks at the beginning, reach on ADP, and hope that the other people in your draft room don't really understand what's going on. At least and that's coming from someone who's never had success in Superflex drafts on Underdog. Now, I'll also say I've played in Superflex Dynasty League since 2017, if that matters for anything. Probably doesn't. But, yeah, going back over to the Richardson versus CJ Stroud comment. I see where you are coming from with the Anthony Richardson rushing upside. But with that being said, CJ Stroud just put up the best season we have pretty much ever seen as a rookie quarterback. And his situation got better going into this next year with Stephon Diggs. Whereas you're looking at Anthony Richardson as a quarterback that went slightly later in the NFL draft, where we're looking at a super small sample with as well. So I hope that the market begins to draft Richardson over Stroud so we can get more Stroud. Now, another thing that we'll talk about later on, coming from someone who's never had success in Underdog Superflex drafts, I think a lot of people don't make another adjustment that they should be in these Superflex drafts, which we will discuss in 1 second. The quarterbacks available are Herbert, Cousins, Stafford, Rodgers, Watson, Baker, Geno, Levis. Taylor goes... F it. Who cares? Let's just take Justin Herbert. Let's just take Herbert. We're going to get one of these guys at the top and get it back around to us regardless. What we probably should have done, knowing how this room goes, is we should have taken Dak over Hall and then gone Barkley at 33. Should have gone Dak over Hall, Barkley 33. Yeah. I mean, of course, the projection that you have is for Justin Herbert and the Chargers to go through and be a much more rush-heavy offense than they've been in years past. But also, if you are looking at ADP, it's not... It's not a hot take to go through and say the Chargers are going to go through and they're going to run the ball a lot more than they did in the past. They're going to slow down the pace of play. Justin Herbert's going to be a worse fantasy option because it is currently priced in, my friend. Now we have Devontae Adams off the board, 36. Hernan says, just notice I'm drafting with you, so I joined the stream. Welcome, my friend, to watching us punt away $5 in Superflex. Now we're going to go ahead. We are going to make our next pick, and then I will talk a little bit about what I think may be the correct strategy in these Superflex drafts, while I reiterate that I've never had success in them. We're going to take Nico Collins, pair him up with Stroud. I think it just is a natural pick there for the stack. But y'all see us in the one quarterback typical drafts on Underdog. Go through, spam wide receivers early, have the rule. You need 5 receivers through the first 8 rounds, because what you're going to find is you're going to find that these guys go extremely early. If you get boxed out, you're pretty much screwed, and you may end up just throwing your draft away. So we talk about that consistently with those 1 QB drafts. With those 1 quarterback drafts as well, if you are looking at the starting lineup requirements, you need to start 3 wide receivers, and you can potentially start the 4th. If you are looking at these 1 quarterback drafts, if you are looking at these Superflex drafts, the starting lineup requirements change where you only need to start 2 receivers. So I am not going to be in nearly as much of a rush to go with the wide receiver position, specifically in the Superflex tournament contest on Underdog, because the lineup requirements are different. If you look at the percentage of said lineup, what the wide receiver position is going to account for is going to be significantly lowered in comparison to the regular draft contest on Underdog. So, want to reiterate a couple different things. One, if you are getting into a Superflex draft on Underdog, you do it today. You send up a prayer that you are not in a draft room like this where people understand that they need to scroll down to select the quarterbacks. You send up a prayer that you're able to go with Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love, Jaden Daniels out the gate. You prioritize, and it's not a super big deal, right? But maybe in a 1 quarterback league, you use the tiebreaker to go with a receiver over a running back, whereas in these Superflex drafts, use the tiebreaker to go RB over a receiver. For example, in this draft, I see no reason, even if you have the Purdy Ayuk stack, I am never taking London, I'm never taking Harrison, I'm never taking Ayuk over Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, Gibbs should not fall this far. Okay. Now, Malik Neighbors off the board, pick 53. Laporta goes 54. Baker off as well. Cup goes. What are we wanting to do? Do we go ahead, take Dell for the Stroud double stack? Quarterback, we have Watson, Geno, Levis, McCarthy, Young. We'll go ahead. We'll just take Tank Dell. We'll get the CJ Stroud double stack. We'll see what the team at 11 does. There are 2 teams in this draft so far that have a total of 0 quarterbacks. They both have red badges. I recognize the team at 11's name. So I am almost certain that they understand it's a Superflex. And there's a strong shot that they know something that I do not. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Beanaz Means says, hey, Mason, wondering if the Jefferson contract entices you to draft him at ADP or ahead. The Jefferson deal in my mind confirms that Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the NFL. He's being valued as if he is the best receiver in the NFL. And he is being discounted because it is an uncertain situation where it's very difficult to project out what you are going to have for the quarterback play in Minnesota. Almost the best case scenario of what you could have potentially had for Justin Jefferson is you could have potentially had Jefferson get dealt where all of a sudden, I don't know, maybe for whatever reason, a 1% chance, a 5% chance, a 10% chance The Vikings didn't want to pay him. They traded him for a haul. I mean, think of Stephon Diggs trade 2.0. Not saying it was going to happen, but. And all of a sudden, he found himself with phenomenal quarterback play. I think that was potentially the best case scenario there for him. Now Jefferson confirms, it just confirms what everybody's already previously thought of him. And he's locked into an uncertain situation, which is why he's discounted at the beginning. So, yeah, I think the Jefferson contract has zero impact on where he's currently going in drafts, or at least should. And we're going to take Kincaid here at 64, reiterating what we were talking about previously. I think receivers should be devalued just a bit in these Superflex drafts in comparison to the one quarterback drafts. I think Kincaid can outscore some of these receivers that are going to go immediately after him. So the question Kincaid versus one of the receivers, that's not really in my mind here. It would more so be, are we taking Kincaid or a quarterback? And that's an answer that I don't know what the right answer is there. Okay. Now, Braxton says, are we getting Dynasty videos anytime soon? Maybe, my friend. I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the live stream, but I'm committed. This year, we are bringing it back. I'm very sorry that I was a lazy bum and had not done it previously, but we will have a draft guide again this year. Working my butt off on that right now. We go to France for the Ironman in 6 days. I got an Airbnb, but I got it also for my fam. So it's gonna be a crowded Airbnb. I don't know if we can record there yet. Probably the answer is I probably can't do a Dynasty video before I leave to France. If I can get a good enough setup going with the Airbnb, I will. But yeah, I'm bringing my phone. My phone should be a good camera. I've used it on tripod before. I'll bring the mic and we'll possibly get it going. Okay, Chris says Eliminator draft first overall. Took CMC, 2 receivers in the middle, and later at Hurts Lamar dropped to 48, 49. Took them both. Is it too much investment into quarterback? I don't think so. But I mean, especially if both guys go there, just understand if you go 48, 49 QB, you're just simply not going to be able to take another quarterback in that draft, right? And typically what I've been wanting to do is I've been wanting to build around 3 quarterbacks in eliminator drafts in particular. So I don't know. I don't know, my friend. But Hayden says, big flock W for y'all. Today, my doctor told me that I'm cancer-free at 22 after 6 months of chemo. Thank you for all you're doing, providing my friend. Congrats. So damn happy for you. Everybody, please spam the chat. Congrats, Hayden. That is the best news that we have. That's, if y'all don't know. Here, if you ever have good news, come in the live stream, share it with us. We're going to call them flock dubs. That's what we do. It's probably the best flock dub that we've had in God knows how long. Congrats. It's going to be hard to top that. It's going to be hard to top that, my friend. That is awesome. Really happy for you. Real quick, we are... we'll double down on the Bills offense. We'll get James Cook to pair up with Kincaid. But, yeah. Congrats, Hayden. That is the best news possible. Okay. Now, Marker Word says, who scores more fantasy points, Evans, London, or Ayuk? Market's currently pricing in London. I think London has the highest ceiling out of them. If I knew Ayuk was in San Francisco this next year, I think you maybe make the argument Ayuk has the highest median projection. Evans probably is the highest floor. I don't know, my friend. I do not know. I'm kind of just letting the market determine that. Okay. Yeah, Brandon says London has the most upside. Okay. Cargo's pick 86. That's the team that decided to wait until the 7-8 turn. Watson goes. We get freaking boxed out. Oh my gosh. I knew we should have gone to Sean Watson. How did y'all let us do this? Y'all led us down the wrong path. This is not my fault. It's never, obviously, I'm joking. We'll let it auto Kamara off the board. If it was a one quarterback underdog draft, you're never going to see me take Kamara over Rome or over Godwin or Keon when we're all in on this Bills offense. But I don't freaking know. I mean, this is what we call pure panic once we see the quarterbacks go before us. And can I please leave this draft? Okay. I mean, can we fire up a one quarterback draft? We already got it going for y'all. I think the only okay piece of advice that we have with these, I want to reiterate, is if you're going to draft in the Superflex tournament, do so ASAP. Get in while quarterbacks are inefficiently priced. Hope that you're in a draft room that lets you get them early at a good value. And then also, when in doubt, go running back over receiver if it's a tiebreaker. Whereas obviously with the one quarterback underdog drafts, you're going receiver over running back as a tiebreaker. But I'm going to bail from this, okay? If this ends up winning the puppy and we end up winning, I don't even know what the first place prize is here. Too bad, so sad. When we look back on this live stream, we're only going to get to see half of it. But based off how it's gone, based off the decisions that we've made, do I think we're winning this? No, I do not think so. So we are going to go ahead. We are going to stick to what we know. We're going to stick to what we've had success in. Let's hop into Best Ball Mania draft. $25 buy-in, $15 million prize pool. Let's get in this bad boy. And there are 11 spots open if you want to get in the draft with us here. And I'm assuming it's going to fill almost instantly. Okay, it is filled, ladies and gentlemen. And let's see what pick we are going to get. Okay. Pick 10. Not exactly pick 9. Not any better, but Waffle Taco stuck at pick 9 right next to us anyway. So let's get this going. Let me pull up that other draft on my phone. We're not just punting that other draft. We'll be making picks from the phone. But let's move this over. LMD in here at pick 2. Perfect in here at pick 5. Waffle Taco, saw you in there at 9, my friend. Benny in here at the 7 spot. The What in here at pick 4. Moe in here at pick 3. Thank you, everyone, for hopping in with us. Really excited to get this going. Bean is mean asking us what our favorite QB wide receiver stack is this year. I'm going to cheat. This isn't a QB wide receiver stack, but it's a stack nonetheless. My favorite stack at cost currently that you can get in these drafts is obviously I can say, round 4 or 5, Kelsey Mahomes. Like, we almost got Kelsey Mahomes in the first draft tonight, which would have been nuts. But what you can actually get is you can potentially go Lamar Andrews in rounds 4 and 5. And personally, I love it. Love it. Okay. Brandon says Tua and Hill, the best receiver stack. But the thing is, it is, I don't want to keep going back to like it's priced in, but we can say like Tua and Tyreek are a phenomenal stack. And if Tyreek's going pick 3, I don't know. You know, I'm trying to find something that's a little bit later. Because the thing is, if you want the Tyreek to a stack, you legitimately have to have either picks 2, 3, or 4, you know. AJ Brown off. We'll just go ahead and we will take Puka. I want to reiterate, I think we are going to start taking more AJ Brown over Puka. Okay. In that other draft, we go wide receiver at the turn. For our third and fourth receivers with Christian Watson and Deontay Johnson. Okay, after we go Puka, let's see what the teams behind us decide. Garrett Wilson off 11. Obvious says Puka over Gibbs, question mark. Remember, 1, we need 5 receivers through the first 8 rounds. 2, there will be other drafts where we can get Gibbs later on. Okay. Gibbs, Harrison, back-to-back with these 2 picks. I haven't taken much London. I don't obviously, I don't feel good about taking London here. I have Taylor ranked higher, but we'll mix it in. If London goes a lot at pick 14, pick 13, Puka goes a lot at pick 9. Maybe the crossover here isn't massive. It probably is. I don't know. It's not like I can take Jonathan Taylor every chance we get in round 2, right? Probably have to have some exposure to Drake London. Speed says Falcons playoff schedule is the only reason I take London. I mean, I don't know. The thing with London too is everybody feels like you take London here at the 1-2 turn. Your hand's forced into going with Pitts at the 5-6 turn. And you kind of are just sitting there with the same build that everybody else has. Span and Brotherhood says, I remember getting London in round 3 pre-draft. The pre-draft underdog drafts are such a blur to me. I do not remember a single thing, my friend. I'm just chalking them all up to me donating to y'all, essentially. Waddle goes 20. We got lucky to get Waddle at 27 in our last draft. In our first draft. The first draft of the night, we're not topping here. Like, I don't know if it's possible to draft a team at pick 10 that was better than our first draft of the night. Speed says, like, most of round 2 receivers are more talented than London. Yeah, I mean, going right back to what we were talking about, we made an entire video talking about this. All the guys in round 2 feel bad. It's a very common take. It's a very popular take, I think, for the right reason. They all feel bad. I'm probably going to try to get a little bit of exposure to a lot of them. The thing with London's price, with where his ADP is at 14, is there's no way London gets more expensive from here. Like, I find it almost impossible to believe that all of a sudden Drake London's going at pick 9. He's going at pick 10 by the time we get to August. He's already probably on way too high here. John says, I think Adams is the scariest round 2 receiver, which is funny that you say that because when we were stepping into the offseason, whenever I was looking at round 2, I was going, oh my gosh, all these guys are gross. How am I going to rank them? I guess maybe we're going to go with Davante Adams because he's been the consistent option. I don't know if we want to be going with a rookie over Adams. I don't know if we want to go with a massive projection and Drake London over Adams. You have Ayuk, where we've seen the ceiling, but also the inconsistency. Olave, where you haven't had the production, but you've seen the proven talent, but it's still a horrible situation. Like, I was sitting here thinking of a million reasons why Davante Adams may have been my guy that we were drafting in round 2 this year. And then once we actually started diving into things, doing research for videos, it was literally doing research for videos, the big takeaway that we had here. I came away with, oh, okay, yeah, never mind. no interest in Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams may be my least favorite player in this range. Okay, so Kyren Williams would have made a lot of sense for us to pick 34 to pair up with Puka, of course. To swing this back around, we are going to go Kupp. I know a lot of people hate Cooper Kupp and are willing to say there's no shot he's anything. He's washed. He was horrible last year, lost me a lot of money last year. The man's a bum. I'll never draft him again. I get it where you're coming from. I understand the frustration. But we have seen Kupp have access to a ceiling that really no other player in this range has. Kupp isn't a super old receiver. He's drafted in 2017. It's a really concentrated target share that you should have here in Los Angeles. And we do get some correlation setting up the Stafford, Puka, Kupp double stack. Now, I would have for sure preferred Kyren Williams over Cooper Kupp, obviously, but we don't get the option. And this could be really easy to take Josh Allen here at pick 39. I mean, taking Allen at 39, it's a quarterback that can go out there, have 15 rushing touchdowns in a season. We have some potential stacking options later on. So we'll take him. And once we go Allen, we are essentially pot committed to only go with one more quarterback regardless. So we're either going to be going, or most likely going to be going Stafford when we take Puka and Kupp. Because when we take Puka and Kupp here, right, it's like, okay, well, if Stafford doesn't get it done, if this is a below volume passing attack, then we are just completely toast. Okay. Now let's see. Greasy asking, where's Keon Coleman getting drafted? Keon's going around 6, my friend. If we want Keon Coleman, we'll probably have to take him at 63, which doesn't feel great. Abose, we just punted $5 away in the Superflex puppy right before you got in here, my friend. Bean, you're not going to be able to get St. Brown and Gibbs on the same team. I think if y'all are going through and saying that you know exactly how Dan Campbell's going to use Gibbs or Montgomery at the goal line this next year, you're crazy. I don't think anybody knows exactly how that's going to go down. If you look at how they were used at the end of last season, Gibbs came away with all the touchdowns at the end of last year. If you look at last year, what happened was the veteran had the goal line role. The veteran had the touchdowns at the beginning of the season. Gibbs expanded his role, and Gibbs ended up coming away with the touchdowns at the end of the year as a rookie running back that was selected inside the top 15 picks of the NFL draft. So the comp that everybody gave Jahmyr Gibbs when he came out of college, while he was still at Alabama, everybody was saying it. Everybody was saying Gibbs is Kamara, Gibbs is Kamara, Gibbs is Kamara. What was Kamara in his prime? Kamara was a running back that got the work at the goal line and got everything as a receiver. Kamara always had the running back running alongside him that would get the meaningless carries between the 20-yard lines. The running back that was going to get 12 carries for 48 rushing yards, 1 reception for 6 receiving yards. And Kamara was going to get all the high-value touches. And Kamara broke fantasy football in that role, even though he was in a committee. We saw Aaron Jones break fantasy football in that role in Aaron Jones's prime when he was running alongside Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams was a running back that was getting all the meaningless volume between the 20s, all just the carries that didn't equal any fantasy points. And Aaron Jones got everything at the goal line, and Aaron Jones got everything as a receiver. Now, is it a 100% guarantee that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get everything at the goal line this next season? No, it is not. Is it a 100% guarantee that David Montgomery will? No, it is not. I think you have to look at the range of outcomes and try to come up with your own conclusion between the two guys. Brandon says Kamara is far bigger than Gibbs and far better in short yardage than Gibbs. From what Gibbs did last year, what makes you think that Gibbs is not good in short yardage? At the end of last year, he was converting at a decent clip that work at the goal line. And if you're looking at smaller running backs, I mean, Kyron's smaller than Gibbs. Okay, so let's move this around. We're on the clock in the other draft. Yes, this is our third draft tonight. Now, I don't know how long we go for. Richardson goes ahead of Stroud here. Stroud's going to fall. Stroud may fall to the team at 60 with Dell. We'll see what Waffle Taco decides to do, but I'm sure he's pissed that he doesn't get Anthony Richardson. He had Taylor and Pittman. Team ahead of him goes Richardson unstacked. He goes Pitts. We're going to get James Cook, pair up Cook with Josh Allen. Obviously, it's not the ideal stack. I mean, especially if you're looking at the fact that what you're kind of banking on from Josh Allen here is that he's going to go out there and he's going to have a decent amount of rushing touchdown volume, which would directly eat into James Cook, right? So what we would look for is just a spike week at the right time, or maybe James Cook is receiving touchdown or two. Likely, who knows? Possible, yes. Yeah, but we're going to assume Stroud goes here at pick 60 to the team with Tank Dell. What I want to revisit is I want to look back on the teams that decided to pass on Stroud with Diggs and Nico Collins and who they went with instead. So typically our goal is going to be 5 receivers through the first 8 rounds. So our options here are going to be Rome, Addison, and Keon Coleman versus Joe Mixon. I'm sure y'all have seen me take Addison here a million times. I don't want to talk about it. Does not feel good. If this doesn't feel good to us, our issue is probably that we shouldn't draft Josh Allen where we do. That's on me. But if I'm looking at Keon Coleman versus the other guys that we are going to see for Buffalo, I don't know if we can be super pumped about going through and taking like Khalil Shakir, Curtis. If I'm reaching on someone, I want to reach on Keon. It doesn't feel horrible to go with Josh Allen, the Bills starting running back, and the Bills number 1 receiver in rounds 4, 5, and 6. It seems like a reasonable price point to pay. But of course we are stretching. We're reaching a considerable amount, and there will be other teams in this tournament that have Keon Coleman at a much more reasonable price. But yeah, Mixon makes it all the way down to 68. Kenneth Walker goes 71. Okay. I mean, what would have been a dream, of course, just very unlikely. It's like if we had Kincaid make it back around to us in round 5. Which I think we've seen like 2 drafts where someone's been able to go Josh Allen round 4 and Kincaid round 5. Just highly unlikely. And if it is going to happen, typically it's not you taking Josh Allen at 39. Instead, you need to be taking like Josh Allen at 42 if you're going to get lucky enough to have Kincaid make it back to you. Okay. The dog's getting scared, so she's going to... Is someone here? Are you scared? Are you scared? Well, you know you have to protect the house when we're gone. You and your watcher are going to have to protect the house. I'm not going to be here to do it. You want to tell everybody hi? You want to tell everybody hi? You want to see her? Say, hey, everybody. Hey, look this way. Look this way, dog. Ugh. I know, baby. Okay, let's move this over. Christian Watson goes pick 77. Burrow off the board 78. That Burrow picks to a team that has no Bengals. You saw the Chase team pass on Burrow in favor of Watson. Where's the Higgins team? Deontay Johnson off the board 79. And also going Keon Coleman gets us one step closer to our goal of 5 receivers through the first 8 rounds. Now, I don't know if we are going to succeed in that goal, especially now that Rashee Rice is off the board, because now if we're sitting here, we're going, okay, our option, if we really wanted to push 5 receivers through the first 8 rounds, would be Jameson Williams. Would I rather have Jameson Williams or Ramondre Stevenson? Give me Ramondre Stevenson. So we'll take Stevenson here at 82. Y'all have seen me before get a little reckless, take Kyler Murray, and just say, I don't care. Kyler's the best player in this range. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take an unstacked Kyler. We'll target some of his secondary receivers later on. We'll get his rushing upside in, blah, blah, blah. You've seen me do it. The issue is, with this team, not only do we have Josh Allen round 4, but also on top of that, we have already set ourselves up with Puka and Kupp. So we are heavily incentivized to go Stafford later on, because if this team's going to be any good, this team has any shot to win Best Ball Mania, Stafford needs to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL with passing volume. So it's a spot where there will be other builds that make more sense for us to take Kyler. And y'all know we were saying when Zamir was going at the beginning of round 7 that I was going to draft none of them. Round 8, Zamir White is way more reasonable. We'll go ahead. We'll take Zamir White here, pick 87. And reiterating what we said previously, our goal in every draft is 5 receivers through the first 8 rounds. Where could we have done that? We would have had to take George Pickens over Josh Allen. Hell no. We would have had to take Calvin Ridley or Xavier Worthy over James Cook on a Josh Allen build. No. We'd have to take Jameson Williams over Ramondre Stevenson or Cortland Sutton over Zamir White. I'm not doing any of that. Okay. So let's move this over. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Bunch of people screaming to ban Brandon. I don't even know who Brandon is. I have no idea what's going on. Let's search Brandon's messages and let's see if Brandon is deserving a ban. Okay. A lot of them are muted. Dear God, Brandon has sent a lot of messages here. We are going to step into Flock Court. Now, I used to have a rule that you could pretty much just say anything that you want in a live stream. You could come in here, you could call me an idiot, tell me I'm the ugliest person you've ever seen in your entire life, tell me that I'm nothing, my kids aren't going to be nothing, my kids' kids will never be anything. I used to have much tougher skin. After doing this for years and years and years, I have been more willing. We haven't done it yet, but to mute people in live streams. Up until this point, really the only people that we have muted are like the corn bots that spam right at the beginning of videos in the comment section. Those get muted, but normal people, we've allowed them to say whatever they want. But to be honest, my patience is running a little bit thin. I can only take so much. But let's see Brandon Katz if he is being mean to anybody in the live stream, or let's see what's going on. I'm looking for evidence of why he would deserve to be banned. So far through the first 7 messages, his worst one is, Tico, you are clueless. He goes, Gibbs is trash running between the tackles. Gibbs has been trashed at Alabama and Detroit in short yardage situations. Then follows it up with saying, I didn't say he was trash. Sounds contradicting, but definitely not ban-worthy. Gibbs is not a short yardage back. Montgomery was far better than Gibbs in yards after contact. Tico, you are a fanboy. Gibbs is not taking short yardage. Oh, he's angry. Brandon Katz is angry. Campbell is an old school coach. He likes running backs like Montgomery. That's why he drafted Jahmyr Gibbs in the top 15. Brees is trash in short yardage. Brees depends on big runs to have value. Gibbs was not effective. Gibbs scored touchdowns on long runs. That's wrong. I'm just I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just rereading what he's saying. Gibbs does not compare to Kamara. Kamara is 20 pounds heavier than Kamara. Kamara is far better in short yardage than Gibbs. Ooh, I'm getting a little lost in the sauce here. We're going to go Curtis Samuel. We're going all in on Buffalo, ladies and gentlemen. All in on the Bills. We need another receiver. We took Josh Allen. Samuel makes it 8 picks past ADP. If we knew that he was going to, would I have felt the need to reach on Keon Coleman? No, I wouldn't have. And the Keon Coleman pick looks bad now. Okay, so far I don't see any reason to ban Brandon. He's very, very passionate about Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, to the point it's a little annoying. But he says, Teresa, stop whining. That's rude. Detroit's, yeah, I don't see any reason to spam him, at least what I searched. Now, smooth this over. I think we can go ahead and take another running back here. Goddard would be fine at tight end, but I think there are going to be other instances it makes sense to go Goddard. We're going to take Javonte instead, and it looks like, oh, we are frozen here. Let's see, how do we fix this? Do we switch it around like that? Are we back? Are we going to have to plug in, plug out? But anyway, we're going to go Javonte Williams, 111. Javonte's probably not any good, right? But I mean, at this point, we're taking him right before A.D. Mitchell goes off the board. So it's not like there's a massive opportunity cost in going through and taking Javonte here to see if he's any good. Okay. I do not know why our camera's gone. We'll figure it out, but let's move this over. Dave says, I have an STI podcast. I don't know what STI is, my friend. It's a freehand circle. Still don't know what that is. But, and also, I still don't know what's going on with us not having a camera. After we go Javonte, we see some more running backs off the board. Eckler, Nick Chubb go. Thank God I do not have to take him for the zillionth time. And, ooh, are we back? We are here. That other draft, we're going to go Sam Darnold as QB3. Ooh, let's move this around. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so at this point, I mean, we're kind of fine with a lot of stuff happening. We have 4 running backs. We're definitely only going to take one more running back with this build. We have Puka, London, Cup, Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel. Running back, we're rolling with James Cook, Ramondre Stevenson, Zamir White, Javonte Williams. Quarterback, we had Josh Allen. So if we were going back in a time machine, right, the big thing that we would change in this draft in particular is I probably would pass on Keon Coleman in favor of Rome there at pick 63, because in this draft we have James Cook and we get Curtis Samuel falling to us at 106. The issue is Curtis Samuel does have that ADP, I believe, of it was like 98, or maybe it was like, I don't know. But anyway, Curtis Samuel had to fall past ADP to make it to us at 106. We knew for a damn fact we weren't going to reach on Curtis Samuel to get him in round 8. So we reached on Keon just to guarantee that we were going to be able to get a stack there. We probably didn't need to, but it is what it is. You live and you learn. And hopefully this is still a decent team. Yeah, I just finished the other draft. If y'all want to know how that team turned out, we're barely getting it. But we have Stroud, Herbert, Sam Darnold, Sam Howell at quarterback. Running back, we have Brees, James Cook, Kamara, Benson, Ray Davis. Receiver, we have Nico, Dell, Watson, Deontay, Lockett, Judy, Cooks, Thielen. And then tight end, we have Kincaid, Hunter Henry, and Chig. So honestly, I actually kind of like the team. I don't think we botched it too bad outside of whiffing on any Herbert pairings. But let's move this back around. Like I said, we are only going to take one more running back in this draft room. So running back, not necessarily a priority for us right here. I think instead we probably just go ahead, take Brandon Cooks, give ourselves a little more flexibility later on. TJ Hawkinson's one of these names that obviously if he was fully healthy, I mean, he would just be an absolute slam dunk where I would have taken him in round 10. I would have taken him in round 9. I would have taken him in round 8. I would have taken him around 7 if he was fully healthy. But similar to the Chubb situation, this is a severe injury. What's worse about Hawkinson's is it happened at the end of the year rather than where Chubb, it happened in week 2. Now, if Hawkinson does make it to us at pick 135, there's an outside chance that we get him. But yeah, I think for where we currently sit, we probably have to go ahead and we probably have to take Brandon Cooks where we do at 130. Now, there are a couple different things that we could look at here at 135. One, we could go ahead and we can take Kirk Cousins, pair Kirk Cousins with Drake London. I think that's going to be a very common thing. I think a lot of people are going to take Cousins in round 12 whenever they have London. Whenever we pass on Cousins, there's a damn good shot we are not going to get Cousins back. The reason being is the team immediately behind us, Waffle Taco, who has 2 picks by the time we're back up, took Kyle Pitts. So they potentially have the ability to go out there and pair up Cousins with Pitts. So if we pass on Cousins, we're throwing in the towel. We're not getting him. If we take a running back, it's our last running back of the draft. We're going to take 3 tight ends regardless, so I don't know how much Hawkinson does for us. Josh Downs, I'd rather take here when we have Anthony Richardson. If it wasn't for the fact that we have both Puka and Kupp, I think we go ahead and we take Cousins. But specifically because we took Puka and then Kupp later on, and as we already mentioned, we are essentially all in, whether we want to be or not, on this Los Angeles Rams passing attack. I think we kind of need to go Stafford in this draft instead of Cousins. So we'll go ahead and we'll let it auto Hawkinson here at 135. I think in a vacuum, I'd prefer Jerome Ford over TJ Hawkinson. And I think you'd probably see us go Ford over Hawkinson if it wasn't for the fact that we can only draft one more running back. Because I think it's an okay value for Jerome Ford in round 12. I don't think it's great. And one thing that I've learned, and I've learned it the hard way over and over and over again, is we want to give ourselves flexibility later on in the draft to kind of take the value and not feel like we're forced into a specific path. Whereas if we go Jerome Ford, we're going to be forced into a specific path. Going Hawkinson, we stay flexible. And in the coming rounds, we still have the ability to go quarterback, running back, wide receiver, or tight ends, regardless of whatever we want at 154 and then 159 and all the way down. Whereas, like I said, if we go Jerome Ford over Hawkinson, we're essentially only going to be able to go QB, wide receiver, tight ends. And considering the quarterback that we have to take is either going to be Cousins or Stafford, we're almost limited to just wide receiver and tight ends once we take Jerome Ford there instead. Cheesecake says, Hawkinson going to miss a lot of time, though. My friend, we just mentioned right before that, of course he's going to miss time. That's why he goes to pick 135. Just to reiterate, as we've done a couple times in this live stream, everybody and their mom understands that Nick Chubb is injured. Everybody and their mom understands that TJ Hawkinson is injured. If TJ Hawkinson was not going to miss time, I promise you, he would have been drafted before Dalton Schultz. He would have been drafted before Dallas Goedert. He would have been drafted before Brock Bowers. He would have been drafted before David Njoku. And he probably would have been drafted before Jake Ferguson. Mark, I'm sorry, my friend. I didn't want to tell you this way, but actually, you don't want to know how I know your mom. Let's leave it at that. Okay. Now, Miller goes at 146. M7 says, we all know Mark's mom. Oh, dear God. Wreck, happy to see you, my friend. Okay, let's move this over. Cousins still in play. Not going to get my hopes up, like we mentioned previously. Waffle Taco is currently sitting here with Kyle Pitts. So if they get the opportunity to take Kirk Cousins at 153, 14 picks past ADP to pair him up with Pitts, it's understandable. Shouldn't be upset. I don't think anybody would be. So, yeah. We'll take Cousins if he falls. I mean, it would be nice to get Cousins at 154 and then Darnell Mooney in round 14 as well. But that's pretty much like best case scenario, right? And I don't know what we'd need to be smoking to assume that's going to happen. Now, let's check in with that team. I was a little worried since that team had 3 quarterbacks that they were auto-drafting and they were going to auto-draft Cousins, which may have been a little painful for us. But this team has Richardson, Herbert. They can't go with another quarterback. So Waffle Taco is probably going to go Cousins and we probably go Stafford. Now, what's interesting is if Waffle Taco decides to pass on Cousins, which he does. Oh, my gosh. Spam the chat. Do you want Cousins or do you want Matthew Stafford? Cousins would pair with Drake London for us, and Stafford would pair with Puka and Kupp for us. Maybe we use the tiebreaker that Cousins has a week 12 bye, the same as our Bills. Looks like most people in the chat are saying Stafford. Stafford, Stafford, Cousins, Stafford, 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 Cousins, Stafford, Stafford, Stafford. Yeah, it looks like most people are saying Stafford. I think you can make an argument for Cousins just based off ADP and what kind of value you're getting him at. He has an ADP of 139, and all of a sudden, I mean, we're down here in the 150s, right? And we have the London stack, but we have the double stack for Stafford. And I think we can, and y'all know I never talk about bye weeks. Yeah, like you never hear me talk about it at all. But if we are going to use it as a tiebreaker, we can't use the tiebreak that Cousins and Allen share the same bias, so maybe it would lower our expected advance rate to the playoff tournament, but also maybe it makes it a little more of a unique team as well. So you can maybe make a positive argument for it. It's going to be funny as Waffle Taco may end up getting Cousins on the way back around to them. 21 picks past ADP, because we're not going to go Cousins here at 159. No, I mean, obviously, if we would have known that we could have got this value on Stafford and Cousins, the correct play would have been to pass on quarterback in round 4 and not take Josh Allen there. But sadly, we did not know that. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Antonio Gibson. I don't mind taking Ray Davis on the same team that we have James Cook on. But the issue is, if we are trying to chase the highest spike week we can potentially get in week 17, at some point we're going to have to throw in the towel, and we can't just keep taking players on the same offense, right? We already have Josh Allen. We already have James Cook. We already have Keon Coleman. We already have Curtis Samuel. We already have 4 pieces of this Buffalo Bills offense, so I don't necessarily think that the next thing that we want is the 5th piece in the backup running back. So I'm going to be capping us at 4 players from any individual offense, specifically in Best Ball Mania, where it's such a large field tournament, and you do really need to chase that just really big upside for the final 3 weeks. M7, this is our 3rd draft, my friend. Technically, we've done 2.5. We didn't finish, but okay. Cheesecake says, don't worry, Keon's going to be the better Mike Evans. Tough. Tigo says, a wasted pick in the 5th round. My friend, you must be a psychic to see ahead into the 5th round. Okay. Okay, so Geno off the board, 166. Watson goes 164. Good for us to see quarterbacks go, of course, whenever we have Allen and Stafford. Okay, we have Wandale Thielen off at the end of round 14. Let's move this over. If you could go Corley for the Bills bring back, if Corley falls, we need another receiver. It's going to be a 3 tight end build. It's going to be a team where we're done taking quarterbacks. We're done taking running backs. We're going to end up drafting 2 more tight ends and 2 more receivers. Kyle, I was lifting when we first started training for the Ironman, but over the past month, I have not. I'm still lifting somewhat, but very rarely. Like, I'll have like 1 upper body day a week and 1 lower body day a week. And they're not good either. Because it'll be like I get back to the gym after running 13 miles, and then I'm just absolutely dead, going like, okay, what the hell am I supposed to do now? Okay, so looking at the board right now, we should have a couple tight ends making it back to us regardless. This team here at the very end already has 2 tight ends. They only have 5 wide receivers, so I think we probably see receivers go off. So we're going to take Marvin Mims at 168 and maybe go, oh, we have Javonte, build in some correlation here with this Denver offense, blah, blah, blah. More so, I just think that we're going to get a tight end on the way back almost regardless. So might as well just take the receiver out of value here and then get our second tight end at 183. Elix says he runs a mile in 5:04. I could not touch 5:04, my friend. That is nuts. Okay, Luke, Baker, both off the board. This team is Kelsey, Conklin, so I'd imagine they're done at tight ends. They only have one QB. They go to Marcus Robinson, so we're going to go ahead. We will take Cade Otton here as our second tight ends. Had the volume last year. Obviously, they bring in a third receiver, so maybe that eats into his volume just a bit here this season. But, yeah, looking at the team, do I love it? But it was pick 10, right? Do I like it for pick 10? Hell yes. Wide receiver, we're sitting with Puka, London, Cup, Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, Brandon Cooks, Marvin Mims. Running back, we have James Cook, Ramondre Stevenson, Zamir White, Javonte Williams, and then Antonio Gibson. Quarterback, we have Josh Allen with the full-blown Bills onslaught with Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel at wide receiver, and James Cook at running back. We have Stafford double stacked with Puka and Cup. We have Hawkinson, Otton as our first two tight ends. We're going to grab one more tight end, one more receiver at the very end of this draft. But yeah, thank you so much for everybody hanging out with us. Really do appreciate y'all. We're probably going to call it here. It's our third draft of the live stream. So yeah, but I will be live every single night till we got to leave on the 9th. And then we'll be live every single night when we get back. But of course, if you want to drive with us in one of these live streams, we're doing it every night. You can find that link in the description, in the comment section, in the live chat. It's everywhere to join Underdog. I mean, I've drafted here every single day for years. It's my favorite place to draft by a country mile. If you use code FLOCK, they're going to match you're going to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Plus, you're going to be getting a special pick'em, something like Luka Doncic, more than less than half a total point. The player will depend on the day that you sign up. Plus, with code FLOCK, you're going to get hooked up with our 2024 Fantasy Football Draft Guide and Rankings, and Underdogs available in damn near every state. You can find the map here. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate y'all. Really hope you have a great night, and really hope I get to see you out in the live stream tomorrow night.